Graham.
Well, let's say behaving like a teenager somewhat. And this is, I mean, you can look at this from just about every angle. It's Chan 2014. Of course, Bafana dumped out courtesy of a hammering at the hands of what looks like almost an under-19 Nigerian side. And I am laying it on thick here.
Are we over it yet?
Yeah, I don't think so. And I don't think we should be. But, of course, we always knew this would become a political storm. And it happened yesterday. And I'm going to open with some very defamatory and inflammatory words, courtesy of Fikile Mbalula, our sports minister, who I would say was behaving in a very unministerial manner yesterday. He called Bafana a bunch of losers and a generation we must forget.
What a burn.
And I just, I love the tweets coming in here, and I'm referring to the Cape Argus here. Someone named Ling said he is speaking as a fan, not a minister, and that is at the crux of all of this. All of us are hurt. All of us have been burnt by this. All of us feel that we have this label as chokers, and we just want the silverware to be able to finally free ourselves of that mantle. But sport happens in the moments, happens in the games. Gordon Eggerson's record speaks for itself, but
for me, dude, that's being like a sour loser. You've got to be gracious in both victory and defeat. But like to say that as the country's representative to the international stage of sport, to call your fellow countrymen a bunch of losers and a generation that needs to.
The eyes of the world are still on Africa.
Figs, come on. I'm so sorry.
I always say there's
so
a time and a place for everything, and that wasn't his place as a minister to say that of the team. And you're right, he was speaking as a fan. Something that I found was quite interesting is that around this time, when performance is disappointing, everyone's looking for a scapegoat, right? So they look to blame the coach, they look to blame the management, they look to blame the players. Somebody said yesterday on Robert Morawa's show that the players are not passionate enough anymore. Like for them, it's all about big business. They know that at the end of the day, they're still going to get a big fat paycheck. There's no passion drive to go and play overseas where they could gain critical and awesome skills to bring back home. Do you think that that's the case? Do you think we can just blame the players, or is there a whole lot of people that we need to take into consideration?
It's a balance of everything. And I think to go as far as actually singling out individual players in an international press conference, as the minister has done, and Monip Josephs, who is a wonderful guy who has trained his heart out to make it up to this. Exactly. You cannot fault him. And he literally blamed it. He went as far as saying that it was 2 own goals that costed the match, which I think we can dispel immediately. When you look at the culture of football in South Africa, yes, we have a problem in that a lot of the praise and a lot of that culture happens here in South Africa. So there isn't the drive to leave the country because you've got your fan bases here, you're being looked after, a so-called cushy lifestyle. But let's make one thing very clear. These guys are top sportsmen. They are competitive. They train every day of their life. They really do want to win. It's not coming from a place of complacency. I think in terms of the style of football we played, you look at Uganda, they suffered a similar fate where they thought they had done enough to go through. They were complacent in the way that they played in terms of being a bit too defensive, yes, but I don't think we can single out individual players and say that they don't want it enough.
But also somebody said on radio yesterday that, we expect of Bafana to be this world-class level football team, but because we look at the Proteas, we look at the Springboks who perform on world stages so well, but
best in the world.
But it's because the development phases of the sports of cricket and rugby are so well structured. From primary school, you're playing the sport, but yet we don't have soccer, and it's one of the nation's pride in terms of sports. So maybe let's start working on that. Start developing talent from grassroots levels. Get these kids on some provincial level tournament going, so that there's a sense of pride that goes not just in schools, not just in provinces, but then we can start building it up as a country.
So adding to that, so what does a statement like "we must forget this generation" say to that kind of development? So I think, I hope that within official structures there are going to be some very hard words spoken to send a very different message. While the tournament is still happening in South Africa and the eyes of the world are looking to us to dictate where Africa is going as a footballing body. But it really is sad to see these kind of comments in the news. But we'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the minister's comments? What do you think about Bafana's performance? What should we do moving forward? So much to chew through. So much to chew through. We're going to take a break and mull that over. We'll see you on the other side.